Welcome to New Possibilities. I speak truth to power without fear. Good morning, peace, and blessings, everyone. Before I get into this content, I want to encourage each and every one of you to donate at least $25 to my political campaign. Your donations will help me be competitive in this race. It will help make a difference in Baltimore. So, again, I will post a link in the description box so that you all can donate to the campaign. I truly appreciate those of you who have donated already. I cannot thank you enough for your support. Also, I encourage you all to follow my YouTube page, my political campaign YouTube page, also my other social media. I will post links in the description box so that you all can follow the campaign on social media. So let's get right into this controversy. As you all know, Gayle King did an interview with Lisa Leslie. She's a famous basketball player. And she asked her about the legacy of Kobe Bryant. And this has caused a lot of controversy. It has caused a lot of debate and discussion on social media. And I want to join that discussion. So what I'm going to do is read a couple of excerpts from a couple of articles, and then I'm going to provide my commentary. So in this article from Yahoo, and I'll post all the sources in the description box so that you all can check it out for yourself, watch these interviews for yourself, watch these statements for yourself, and judge them for yourself. So Gayle King asked Lisa Leslie this. She said, "It's been said that his legacy is complicated because of a sexual assault charge which was dismissed in 2003, 2004. And King went on to say, "Is it complicated for you as a woman, as a WNBA player?" And Lisa Leslie went on to say this: "It is not complicated for me at all. Even if there were a few times that I've been with him at a club at the same time, Kobe's not the kind of guy, never been. He's never said, go get that girl or tell her or send her this." And she went on to say that she has other NBA friends that are like that. And Kobe was never like that. She said that Kobe was not that kind of person. That's not the Kobe that she basically knew. She said he wouldn't violate a woman or be aggressive in that way. That's not the person I know. That's what she said. And then King continued on with the questioning. King pushed back. She said, "But Lisa, you wouldn't see it though. As his friend, you wouldn't see it." And then Lisa Leslie said this. She said, "And that's possible. I just don't believe that. I'm not saying things didn't happen. I just don't believe that things happen with force." And then King went on to say this: "Is it even fair to question, is it even a fair question to ask about it, to talk about it, considering that he's no longer with us and that it was resolved, or is it a part of his history?" And then Lisa Leslie said this. She said, "I think that the media should be more respectful at this time." She said, "If you had questions about it, you've had many years to ask him that. I don't think it's something that we should keep hanging over his legacy." And she went on to say, "I mean, he went to trial." And then Gayle King said this. She said, "Yeah, but the case, it was dismissed because the victim in the case refused to testify, so it was dismissed." And then Lisa Leslie said, "And I think that's how we should leave it." And so the problem is, here we are at a time when a lot of people are mourning the loss of Kobe Bryant. And instead of, focusing on his accomplishments and all that kind of stuff, Gayle King wanted to zero in on some old dismissed rape allegations against Kobe Bryant. And I just think that that was inappropriate. I mean, even if she raised the first question, which I could give her the benefit of the doubt on, like if she just said, "Well, do you think his legacy is complicated?" And after Lisa Leslie answered that, that should have been it. That should have been the end of the discussion of that particular question. in light of the situation, in light of the fact that a lot of people are still mourning his loss. But she didn't stop there. She just kept going and going. And basically, I think that she was looking for another viral moment, and she found it. She has gone viral for all the wrong reasons. And in response to this whole thing, rapper Snoop Dogg did a video and posted it on I think it was Instagram or Twitter, and he has received a lot of backlash for his video. And basically, Snoop said this. He said she was out of pocket for that, way out of pocket. And then she said, you don't ask Harvey Weinstein those type of questions. And then he proceeded to call her a funky dog head bitch. And then he said, how dare you try to tarnish my homeboy's reputation? Respect the family and back off, bitch, before we come and get you. This is what Snoop Dogg said. So, of course, you had a lot of people responding to Snoop Dogg. And one of those people was former National Security Advisor Susan Rice. And my question is, like, why would Susan Rice find the need to even be involved in this discussion? Here you are talking about like a distinguished government, former government official getting involved in some social media controversy. So this is what Susan Rice said. She said, this is despicable. Gayle King is one of the most principled, fair, and tough journalists alive. Snoop, back the F off. Basically, that's what she said. She got like the asterisk mark, 4 dots for, covering the word. And basically she's saying back the fuck off. And she says, comfort Gayle King, you come from against an army. You will lose and it won't be pretty. So she's basically threatening Snoop Dogg. And I see a lot of people really outraged because of Snoop Dogg's comments. And I'm going to get into those in a second, share my thoughts about what he had to say. But I didn't see anybody, not a single blogger, not a single person in social media complaining about Susan Rice threatening Snoop Dogg. She's saying, you come against an army, you will lose, and it won't be pretty. But nobody has anything to say about that. And also you have people like Ta-Nehisi Coates who chimed in on this issue. And he basically was defending Gayle King. He was talking about how she's a great journalist and how she was familiar with his works, for instance. He talked about how, he had interviews with her and she had his book and he could see that she had read it because there were notes and sticky pads and dog-eared pages and all that kind of stuff. And he was talking about how much he respects her as a journalist. And then he talked about how it was weak, basically, for black men to be attacking Gayle King the way they did. He basically said that you can disagree with somebody without being disrespectful and all that kind of stuff. And, I agree with that. So let's get right into the commentary. There are a couple of things that I want to say about this whole situation. Number one, I just hate to see people exploit this situation to fuel the gender war. So people are basically using this to pit black men against black women. And I think that that's highly problematic. And it just shows like the dysfunction that exists in our community where we're eager to tear each other down constantly. Eager to, talk about black women or black men. I mean, you got some black men, basically asking the question about accountability, saying, why can't we hold women accountable? What's wrong with that? And there's no problem with holding women accountable. Like people suggested, black women aren't held accountable. When you have black women, for instance, who are constantly holding other black women accountable on social media and in real life. And then you also have a slew, an army of, these people in the so-called manosphere who make it their job and their quote-unquote business to hold women accountable. So we need to quit pretending like women are not being held accountable. And you don't hold a woman accountable by verbally abusing her. And that brings me to the whole thing with Snoop. Like, I understand his outrage. I feel his outrage. Here he is. Um, he's lost one of his friends. You know what I'm saying? Like, somebody that was close to him. He has a lot of love for the brother Kobe Bryant. And when people lose loved ones and someone says something disparaging about that loved one, it's a natural reaction for people to respond in an emotional way. When people are emotional, when they are torn and they are in mourning, they're not going to think things out in a cool, calm, and collected kind of fashion. And we just have to understand that. But at the same time, I don't think that it's appropriate to be calling women bitches and stuff like that. We need to move beyond like that kind of misogynistic language directed towards women. I mean, you can criticize journalists' integrity, criticize their timing and all that stuff without, using misogynistic, derogatory language. And sadly, that's what Snoop did here. I mean, and this is nothing new for Snoop. I mean, we understand like the misogyny that he has displayed in his music and stuff like that. Constantly, referring to women as bitches and stuff like that. He actually has a song with Dr. Dre called Bitches Ain't Shit, man. So this is nothing new for Snoop Dogg, and nobody should be surprised by this kind of language being used. But, I think that it's appropriate to criticize the language that he's using and stuff like that. And another thing is like Snoop Dogg actually threatened her. He said, respect the family and back off before we come get you. I mean, this is a man with gang affiliations, and I don't think he literally meant that he was going to come get her, he's going to get some guns or harm her or whatever. But there are a lot of ignorant people out here who basically see this as a green light to harass Gayle King. And I don't promote harassing journalists for things that they say. Basically, that creates like a dictatorship type of environment where people's First Amendment rights are being trampled upon. But I do believe that people have the right to criticize views that they don't agree with. But you shouldn't threaten anybody. You don't have any kind of right to threaten people. So that's where I draw the line. I respectfully disagree with the way he said what he said, but I understand, the anger and frustration. Also, I mean, we have to look at this whole thing in a historical context. I was watching this video that the brother Ben X posted on Facebook featuring this woman who raised the question of, the history of white women lying against black men. Falsely accusing black men and black boys of sexual harassment and sexual assault. We saw what happened to him, Emmett Till. A young brother accused of whistling at a white woman, comes out later that it was completely false. He didn't do all that kind of stuff. The woman lied and all that kind of stuff. And that brother was lynched behind a lie. We saw what happened in Rosewood, a whole town burned to the ground, many people killed because of false allegations that a white woman raised against a black man. And the same thing happened in Tulsa, Oklahoma, so-called Black Wall Street, where that whole town was destroyed based on some false allegations against a black man. We know that for too long, there have been many incidents where white women have lied against black men. And I'm not saying that that's necessarily the case here, because I understand that just because a case is dismissed doesn't mean that that person didn't commit the crime. It just means that either there wasn't enough evidence or a witness didn't come forward to testify and all that kind of stuff. That's what it means. And a settlement. There's a couple of questions raised as well. So, I mean, I understand that Kobe Bryant isn't necessarily innocent. It does, just because a case was dismissed doesn't mean he's completely innocent. But the legal system has resolved the matter, and I just think, as Lisa Leslie pointed out, that this is not the time to push this question as hard as Gayle King as hard as Gayle King pushed it. This is not the time for that. You know, the time for that would have been when Kobe Bryant was alive, when he was getting endorsements and all that kind of stuff. That would have been the time to press or to raise these particular issues. Not after he's passed, you know, shortly after he's passed away, when people are still in mourning and loss, you know, had this great sense of loss and emotional pain and all that kind of stuff and trauma. This is not the time, and timing is everything. If you don't do things in the right time, in the wrong time, something is perfectly appropriate at another time can be completely inappropriate at the wrong time. So, you know, those are some of my thoughts about this whole situation. Tell me what you think. What did you think about this? You know, I look forward to hearing your opinions. It's like, I don't like the fact that you have all these people rallying about behind Gayle King, talking about I stand with Gayle King, even though like her questioning was inappropriate, the way she did what she did was inappropriate. But at the same time, Snoop was inappropriate, you know, with the threats and with the, you know, misogynistic language. But before I close this out, I have to deal with this issue of double standards. Like, one of the things that Snoop Dogg raised was the fact that Gayle King hasn't asked Harvey Weinstein these types of questions. And I think that basically, I mean, in some ways, that's a deflection. You know, it is a deflection in terms of dealing with Kobe Bryant's immediate situation. You know, the fact that Harvey Weinstein did something and nobody's pressing him or whatever doesn't mean that, you know, that people like R. Kelly shouldn't be held accountable. It doesn't necessarily mean that questions about Kobe Bryant shouldn't be raised. But it does raise an interesting point. It is interesting that Gayle King, I'm not aware of her doing any kind of interview with any famous white person who's been accused of sexual misconduct, you know, has been accused of rape or anything like that. I'm not aware of her questioning, you know, Harvey Weinstein or any other white person who's been accused of similar crimes. And I'm not aware of Oprah Winfrey doing that as well. Because, you know, let's remember, Oprah Winfrey, like, made a big deal about this situation. She basically said that Gayle King is not doing well, you know, that she's really going through a lot because of the way people are responding to that particular interview. But it's like Oprah Winfrey, as far as I know, hasn't scrutinized these white men the way she's scrutinized black men. And I do believe that black men who are accused of sexual misconduct, you know, rape or, you know, sexual abuse, sexual harassment, I do believe that they should be questioned. They should be questioned. And I don't think that because some white guy did something and nobody's questioning them, that doesn't mean that black men shouldn't be questioned. But I do believe that those white men need to be questioned too. And I think that it does raise serious questions when you have these media people solely focusing on black men in particular. So anyway, tell me what y'all think. Please rate, comment, subscribe, like the video, share the video. Also, hit that notification bell so that you'll know when I post new content. Unfortunately, I've been very busy with this campaign and I haven't had time to post regularly, but I'm going to do the best that I can to post more frequently. Again, I want to remind people, please donate at least $25 to my political campaign today. My campaign is for a better, cleaner, and safer Baltimore. Peace and blessings, everyone. Have a great day.